Ah, Master Chu, nice to see you. What's up, my friends? I've been a fan of Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching for, geez, maybe like 11 or 12 years now. It's been one of my favorite books for a long time, and today I just wanted to speak a bit about it and celebrate the essence of the Tao that Lao Tzu was communicating and illuminate what that essence is from my own experience as best I can. So, Lao Tzu begins the Tao Te Ching by saying, "The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real." So, bars. So, Lao Tzu opens the Tao Te Ching, and by the way, this is Lao Tzu. Behind me here, conjured this with Mid-Journey. I thought it was pretty cool. This depiction of Lao Tzu. Peace to Lao Tzu. So Lao Tzu begins the Tao Te Ching in a pretty impressive fashion here. Just opens up with some beautiful words. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real. So there's actually a tremendous significance here, especially in this line, the unnameable is the eternally real. This word unnameable could be interchangeable with unpindownable, unresolvable, indefinable, non-structuralizable, nebulous, ambiguous, non-finite, or empty. These are all synonyms for what Buddhists point to with the word emptiness. They point at that which cannot be compressed into any structure, that which cannot be conceived of. Literally an intrinsic quality of reality, of experience, which Lao Tzu refers to as the Tao. Literally, what Lao Tzu refers to when he says the Tao is your unnameable experience right now. There's nothing other than the presently appearing field of experience. That's all we ever know. How could we ever know anything other than experience itself? Have you ever stepped outside of experience itself? Try to find something other than experience. So experience, or this presently appearing field or bubble of awareness, is all that we ever know, and that is what is referred to by the Tao, which, for a long time, I always felt like the Tao was that the innermost essence of the Tao was somehow like somewhere else, like I needed to find it through deep meditation or some kind of absorption or pop-out experience into the void. And that is not the case. And really, it was Peter Brown who, bless his soul, most resoundingly made this clear to me and just repeatedly pointed at experience itself right now as it is. Experience itself right now as it is. That is the Tao. That is the unnameable. That is the eternally real. Although no words can say what it is. And so again, this word unnameable is really crucial here, because this quality of emptiness, unnameability, unresolvability, indefinability, inconceivability, non-structuralizability, this is kind of a master key that unlocks the whole thing, that unlocks the direct seeing of this present experience as a miraculous apparition of the infinite Tao, a miraculous expression of the infinite Tao. Because even what is meant by words like infinite and eternal, this can be really misleading because infinite tends to make the mind think of like some vast distance that goes on forever. And eternal makes the mind think of some vast amount of time that goes on forever. When really, the true meaning of these words in the context of spirituality, infinite means non-finite, unable to be pinned down within any finite structure, any quantifiable structure. And eternal means non-temporal, not bound by time, not pinned downable within a structure of apparent time. It's just saying that, the structure of apparent time is another conceptual overlay that the mind applies to this instantaneous flash of nowness. That's all we ever really know. It's just this spontaneous, instantaneous flash of pure nowness that shows up as this ever-shifting, ever morphing artistry that we then conceptualize as my life and the world, and we make it something solid, and it becomes what Lao Tzu calls the 10,000 things then. He says naming is the origin of the 10,000 things. So when we start to name things and believe we know what they are, that's when this highly complicated world of the 10,000 things or the 1 billion things comes into existence, and we feel like, oh, I'm living in this solid, existent, vast labyrinthine universe, and I'm a small monkey who evolved on a rock, and I need to jump through all these hoops and solve all these problems. That's kind of our dominant global monocultural mythology in modern Western civilization, or just modern civilization. And that's kind of that story is fine. That story is included. That's one thing you see as you investigate the Tao, is that all of our stories about it are fully included. Those too are miraculous expressions of the Tao. One of its dominant modes is to weave these elaborate stories about itself and get lost in these stories. And yet all the while it remains the unnameable, the unstoryable. And what that is just this instantaneous flash of ever-shifting artistry right here and now that is just, it's so close, it's so immediate, it's so simple, it's so direct, and it's so slippery that words just can't touch it at all. One example I like to use is just if you close your eyes and you notice the dancing light, the dancing luminosity in the area you'd typically think of as behind your eyes, it's pretty easy to notice that which we usually just completely overlook and disregard, yet which is a totally valid aspect of our experience, it's pretty easy to notice that you could write 1 billion treatises and never actually pin down what that unpatterned patternedness is. It's just this like nebulous, ever morphing dancingness of subtlety, this kind of infinite pixelation of information, and you have no idea what that is. You can't say what that is. And so as you notice that pixelation, that morphingness in different access points where it's easier to notice, like the light behind your eyelids, or just staring at the sky, staring at a wall, staring at aspects of experience that are outside of your usual story. It's easier to notice this outside of your usual story, to notice this quality of infinitely unpin downable pixelation that is ever present in all the sense fields, in anything in your experience. If you really look at it, it has this quality of ever shifting, ever dancing buzzingness, aliveness. You couldn't really say what it is. And if you dwell with that, if you sit with that, if you let yourself really taste that, if you just stay with the ever shifting, nameless artistry of now, it begins to dismantle all of the heavy-handed structuralizing and defining and believing that has led us to turn this simple instantaneous flash of now into an elaborate an elaborate solid world of objects and problems and knowable situations. There are no knowable situations. We don't know what anything is. We don't know what anything is. And again, that's not to say that anything is negated or excluded. All apparent situations are fully included. Our sacramental human journeys are fully included, fully honored. You know, these journeys are heart-cracking poetry. They're an incredibly gorgeous, poetic, sacramental expression of something that the entire universe, the entire Tao is doing. The Tao is dancing itself forth as all these stories. And so these stories are no less miraculous expressions as anything else. And yet, for a period of time in this exploration of the actual nature of the Tao that is here right now, as this spontaneous, instantaneous presence, it can be very useful for a period of time in that yoga, that exploration, to drop our stories as much as possible, drop our labels as much as possible, drop our descriptions as much as possible, and simply practice being with uninterpreted radiance, being with this uninterpreted flash of spontaneous morphingness that is all we ever really come in contact with, you know? Just notice that the beginning of the sentence is totally gone. The end of the sentence is nowhere to be found until right now, and then it's gone. The past, no one has ever found the past. No one has ever found the future. We only ever come in contact with this razor's edge of meltingness, this razor's edge of nowness. So, as you let yourself feel that astounding fact, and you spend more time just abiding with the positivity of that fact, you spend more time abiding with the actuality of this unpinned downable radiance in a more naked, a more primal condition, stripped of definitions prior to our definitions. This is what can reveal to you the actual nature of the Tao, the conditionless condition, the unnameable condition. Another way to say unnameable is unconditional, shapeless. It has no inherent condition or shape of its own, and it cannot be compressed into any definable condition or shape. It always vastly transcends that. It's like trying to fit the ocean into a film canister. You're not gonna be able to do it. So that is the importance of the word unnameable. It's incredibly, incredibly important. The unnameability, if you stay with that, if you look at anything in experience and ask yourself, why is this truly unnameable? Why is this truly unsayable? And you stay with that unsayability, that's really like a laser or a razor that will cut through your heavy-handed belief systems and reveal them as completely unable to accurately contain reality, and you'll gradually be left with something much more direct, much simpler. All apparent complexity is included, but it all collapses down to the ultimate simplicity of just this presently appearing field of experience, this instantaneous flash of nowness. What else have you ever known? So another quote from Lao Tzu here, he says, "Do you want to improve the world? I don't think it can be done. The world is sacred. It can't be improved. If you tamper with it, you'll ruin it. If you treat it like an object, you'll lose it." So this has always been one of my favorite quotes from Lao Tzu, because for many years I had this very strong kind of activist part of me that was like, we need to improve the world. This world is broken. This world is a disaster. This is a joke. We need to make this the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. And, you know, bless the heart of the character JB, he still feels that way to a great extent. I'm a father, I have a daughter. I would love to make this world a place where we feel good about raising our children here, where we feel good about sending our children out into the world. I would love to spread more love in the world. And that's what I tend to do. That's my kind of karmic blueprint, is that generally my character attempts to make the world a more beautiful place, and set the kids free, make it a place where our children and inner children can dance their unique dance and sing their unique song. And that's just generally my modus operandi. That's the mystery of my karma. That's how the Tao designed me to be. And yet it has been unspeakably liberating to realize with ever more clarity, directly in my own experience, what Lao Tzu is saying when he says you cannot improve the world. You cannot improve the world. There's a profound sense in which this is true, a profound sense in which this is true. And it's really quite a mystery, the way in which this is true. It's hard to put into words the way in which this is true. It cuts against all of our human conditioning and human programming. But a master key for understanding what he means by this can be found in the sentence, if you treat it like an object, you'll lose it. If you treat it like an object, you'll lose it. So we believe that we can improve the world because we believe there's really an objective world there to be improved. And yeah, again, it's hard to talk about this stuff, and if it's not resonating, feel welcome to, go do something else. But I'm going to speak directly here because that's what I'm inclined to do. We believe we can improve the world because we believe there's really a world to be improved. We believe there's a solid, objectifiable world out there that can be brought from one condition to another. Yet if we go back to the unnamability, the non-structuralizability, the unconditionality, the non-objectifiability, this again is the master key for realizing what is here is an instantaneous flash of nowness that cannot be structuralized or pinned down at all. So all of our cherished concepts, such as me, self, world, time, space, things, objects, situations, cause and effect, other people, as you go into what could be called the emptiness or the unconditionality of this moment, as you rest with the infinity, the non-finitude, as you just stay with the ever-shifting, unpin-downable artistry, and you let it reveal itself to you, you let it show you what it is, you let yourself notice why it is unsayable, why it cannot actually be objectified, why no structure can capture what it is. You just stay with this immediacy of this dancing light behind the eyes, for example, or you let yourself notice that dancing pixelation can be found when you look closely at anything in your experience. You just notice that, what you thought was an objective laptop is actually an experience of a laptop. It's an experience, right? If we break it down to its component parts, from here right now, when I'm not touching it, all that the laptop really is a splotch of what we would call color, a splotch of ever morphing, ever dancing pixelation, spontaneously appearing in this flash of nowness. And if I look closely, it doesn't stay stable for any instant. It also has this quality of unpin-downable infinite pixelation. And that's all that is actually there. And if I seem to reach out and touch it, What is that? That creates an additional sensation, but if I feel and I let myself really taste what that sensation is, it's another infinite buzzingness and infinite dancingness and infinite morphingness that appears in the field of what we would usually call the field of touch, the sense field of touch. And so now what do I have there? I have this splotch of coloration. I have this buzzingness in the field of touch. And somehow the mind takes that and says, oh, I know what that is. That's an objective laptop in the world out there. Do you see how that elaboration is a massive leap? It's a massive assumption. It's a massive assumption that says, yeah, there's actually an objective laptop out there. We're so deeply conditioned to make that assumption that we don't even usually notice at all that it is an assumption, but it is. So yoga, especially Peter Brown's yoga of radiant presence, which is one of the most powerful practices I ever discovered, yoga is really the process of getting super honest about the naked fact of what we actually experience. Noticing that the laptop consists actually experientially of a splotch of coloration, a splotch of pixelation in the visual field. And if I touch it, there's a splotch of dancing buzzingness in the field of touch. And it's continuously morphing in both ways. The experience of it is continuously morphing. So we're going back to the really primal fact of what is here. We're withdrawing from giving solidity to these elaborate maps of what the world is, and we're coming back to the primal fact of just this naked, instantaneous, spontaneous flash of radiance here and now. When asked what happened to him in his process of enlightenment, Nisargadatta replied, I used to create a world and now I don't create one. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but that's a nice summation here, a nice succinct summation. We typically, through assumptions and beliefs, we create a solid world out there. We assume it into existence. We assume an objective world into existence, when really we don't know if that's the case or not. We don't know either way. I'm not telling you there's not an objective world out there. I'm not telling you that there is one. I'm just saying we don't actually know. And true spirituality is about getting really, really familiar with that unknowing, deeply internalizing that unknowing, and letting yourself really melt into that unknowingness, which then spontaneously and magically reveals this flash of instantaneous presence here and now as fundamentally miraculousness, wholeness, freedom, coziness, at-homeness, peace, simplicity, all-embracingness. It turns out that this instantaneous flash of nowness, when stripped of our habitual concretizations, no problem can be found in it whatsoever, because problems are defined into existence. They're also conceptual overlays. How can there be a problem if you don't even know what anything is? If there are no definable situations, how could a situation be a problem? If you can't even find a situation or know what a situation is, there can't be a problem. So that is what Lao Tzu means when he says, you cannot improve the world. Because what he's actually saying is that there is no knowable world. How could you, to improve something means that you have a known condition that you can bring to another known condition. You have condition A, I know what this world is, I know what this situation is, I know that it's bad and wrong and broken and diseased, and I'm going to bring it to condition B, which I know is better, which is good and happy and more loving and more innocent and restful. And what Lao Tzu is really saying here, what he's really ultimately pointing at, which, I'm being very direct here, this type of pointing in ancient times was usually reserved for after monks had spent 10 years training and stuff like that. This stuff was kept very private because it was understood that many people are not ready for this. But, at this point on the internet, everybody's talking about this, and it was just kind of a trust that those who are ready for this understanding will find it and will be able to grok it and will play with it, and those who aren't ready for it, are just gonna, it's just gonna bounce off and they're gonna go somewhere else, and all of that is just fine. But that's what Lao Tzu's really saying here, is that there is no knowable world. He's undercutting the most basic assumptions. Do you want to improve the world? Well, you don't know what the word world means, and you don't know what improve means, and you don't know what you means, and you don't know what want means. These are all extrapolations. These are all abstractions, conceptual overlays that we place atop the naked fact of instantaneous, ever-morphing nowness that is a pure mystery to us. And so as he says, if you treat the world like an object, you'll lose it. As soon as you make that etheric, ever-dancing, instantaneous flash of nowness into an objectified world, you lose the actual Tao. You lose the capacity to rest with the simplicity in its naked condition. And that doesn't mean the simplicity ceases to rest in its naked condition. It always simply rests in its naked condition. It always simply is what it is. Even as it presents as this ever-morphing display, it never truly departs from its fundamental nature. It never departs from the one taste, which is the taste of emptiness, the taste of unnameability, unconditionality, nebulosity. This is intrinsic to every experience. Non-essentializability, non-structuralizability, unpinned down ability. You simply cannot pin down or structuralize any experience. You can't fit it inside of any structure, any concept, any word, any name, because it's just too simple, too direct, too close. It's just this flash of radiance here and now. So that's why the world can't be improved, because we don't even know what improve would mean. We don't know what a situation is. We don't know what a world is. And when we assume that we know that and we treat the world like an object, we lose the actual simplicity of the Tao in its original restful condition right here and now, which, again, as we rediscover how to rest as that, we discover that there's this inherent quality of completeness, wholeness, rest, non-problematicness, just okayness. So everything is okay. The Tao is okay. The Tao is at rest. So that's what Lao Tzu means by that quote. And again, that doesn't deny or negate our human inspiration to create a more beautiful world. The human level is still fully there. It's fully included. If the karmic makeup of your character is to make a video like this one, attempting to, playfully liberate consciousness such that more people will chill out and stop creating war within themselves, stop creating separation within themselves, such that more people can experience joy and freedom and love and sanity and simplicity and rest, and potentially this world can become more peaceful for our children, then that's completely fine. That's completely included. You're completely allowed to do that. And yet, that undertaking, especially if you take, if you're solidifying an objective world, it can easily start to feel like a crushing, high pressure undertaking, right? I mean, this breaks many people, just thinking about the problems of the world and trying to fix those problems. Many people are driven to madness or suicide, or at least deep depression and resentment through that undertaking. So it's no joke to undertake that. So if you want to have true longevity and spaciousness in your attempts to beautify the world or create a better world for all of us, you would be wise to understand the Tao. You'd be wise to grok what Lao Tzu is pointing at. That will bring you much more spaciousness in your attempts to serve sentient beings. going to read another quote here from Lao Tzu. He says, "The Tao is like a well, used but never used up. It is like the eternal void, filled with infinite possibilities. It is hidden but always present. I don't know who gave birth to it. It is older than God." This is another fun quote here. I like the kind of provocation of "it is older than God." Yeah, because I mean, what you see when you really go into this quality of unnameability, this quality of emptiness, you see the profound sense in which there is no God, there is no Tao, there is no void. Every word completely misses the mark. Every word completely misses the mark. So you can call this the Tao, you can call this God, but like Lao Tzu said in the opening sutra, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. And similarly, the God that can be told is not the eternal God, the eternal God nature. And so, yeah, what he's saying, what I'm pointing at is prior to any definition, even including our most exalted definitions and cherished concepts such as God or Tao or Brahman or Allah or whatever it is, these are concepts that come in a sense after the fact of that which is prior to yet inclusive of all concepts, which is the fundamentally unnameable, And I guess for me, I don't know if this is a mistranslation when I believe this is the Stephen Mitchell translation I'm working with, but when he says it is hidden but always present, I don't agree with that actually. I mean, I can see the sense in which that pointer points to something useful because it does tend to seem hidden when we're locked into our default human perspective, our consensus worldview. But as yoga progresses, you actually see that it's the opposite of hidden. It's not hidden at all. It's literally nakedly displayed before us. Divine artistry is erupting forth from every nook and cranny. We're literally being slapped in the face with it repeatedly. And the actual miracle is that we don't typically see it. The miracle is that we don't notice that we're living a miracle. We don't notice that this spontaneous, instantaneous, hyper-intelligent apparition of pure, divinely orchestrated artistry is effulging from nowhere in every nanosecond and slapping us across the face with a never-before-seen divine master artwork. What's truly astonishing is that that can be happening and that can be experienced as just, oh, ho hum, just another day. I guess it's time to head to the office. I'm going to heat up my morning cup of joe here. The fact that this astonishing fact of experience can be interpreted as boringness is really like a cosmic joke. It's a cosmic joke because it's not hidden. It's nakedly displayed. It's right here. It's laid bare for our investigation. This is the literal body of God, the literal body of Tao right now. Even though those words can't say what it is, it's right here and it's laid bare for our investigation. So, yeah, so it's not hidden. It's always present. And yeah, as Lao Tzu says, it's filled with infinite possibilities. Elsewhere, he says you can use it in whatever way you want. So that's another really cool thing about the Tao is that it's literally infinite possibilities, non-finite possibilities. I mean, this is a field of, again, non-finite, unnameable, unconditional radiance that can look like anything. You can literally project anything onto this and it will seem to shape itself around your projections because it's like a Rorschach blot. It's like a chameleon. It's like a hyper-intelligent chameleon that any way you choose to be with it or you happen to be with it, it will seem to conform to that perspective. Because of its emptiness, because of its fundamental shapelessness, it conforms to any container that you seem to put it in. I think elsewhere Lao Tzu says, the Tao is like water. It has no shape of its own, yet it conforms to any container you put it in. Or maybe that was Bruce Lee, but I think he was heavily influenced by the Tao. So yeah, the Tao is like water in that sense, shapeless, has no shape of its own, and yet any story that you tell yourself, the Tao will seem to conform to that story. And that is a really cool kind of magical fact of the way in which we have this participatory capacity to shape this unsayable Taoness in whatever direction we are karmically inclined to, or whatever direction we choose to do so. And that's really the sacred holy power of the word. You know, in one sense, it's useful to note that words are inadequate structures that can't contain this, as I've been doing repeatedly here. Yet in another sense, the word is a holy mystery itself that, when brought forth, literally speaks creation into existence. You know, this is why you really need to watch your words and your thoughts and the stories you tell yourself, because they will become self-fulfilling prophecies, in the sense that you will see your thoughts and your stories projected back to you, because the Tao is like an empty mirror. The Tao is like an empty mirror that simply, you know, again, because it has no inherent shape of its own, whatever shape you project onto it, it will seem to adopt that shape. And so, you know, watch your thoughts and stories, because in a profound sense, you are participatorily co-creating your reality in that sense. And as Lao Tzu says, you can use the Tao however you like. You can use it to create a nightmare, you can use it to create a beautiful dream, or you can just kind of surrender and just let it be what it is. You can cease to really have a story or belief about it, and you can just abide with it as naked radiance. And that's going to depend on your karmic makeup and what you are inclined to do. Yet it's important to understand this. You can use it in any way you like. And the most fundamental way to participatorily co-create your reality is to shift the fundamental words that you are using in your deep, deep unconscious, the fundamental agreements and archetypes that are dictating your projections, that you're projecting onto the shapeless Rorschach blot. So, you know, there are many ways to consciously begin reprogramming this. For example, making utopian heavenly rap music and then listening to your own rap music. I've been doing this for years. I've been reprogramming my subconscious at the deepest levels through the use of my own voice. Your own voice has a unique, particular power to reshape your reality. So anyway, this is kind of a side topic here. What I'm speaking about here is more like a topic of magic, when the primary topic here is just about the Tao itself. But it is interesting to note that the Tao has this quality of participation. We can apparently participate in it and use it how we like, and that's more of a magical undertaking there. The last quote I'm going to read here from Lao Tzu is, "The Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. The master doesn't take sides. She welcomes both saints and sinners." This reminds me of one other quote from a Zen master, I believe it was Song Song, who said something like, "The struggle between for and against is the mind's worst disease." The struggle between for and against is the mind's worst disease. So, you know, we see this playing out around us all the time on the apparent world stage, right? We see humans so locked into their narratives of for and against, so certain that they know what is bad and what is good, who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, and they are for the good guys and they are against the bad guys. And we see this war consciousness resulting in information warfare, culture warfare, and literal physical warfare, enormous violence and bloodshed all around us. So this taking of sides, this game of for and against, is actually the root of of violence. This is the root of war on this planet. You know, my my fundamental feeling is that when this kind of thorn is plucked out, if this were suddenly plucked out of all human beings, war would cease on this planet. We wouldn't kill each other anymore because we would just see that fundamentally there is no separation. We're all actually on the side of reality itself. You know, as you engage in this investigation, you just become more and more fundamentally pro reality. You're just in favor of reality being what it is, however it happens to look. And you see that all other apparent beings are literally your own body, literally your own body. So why would you stab yourself in the head? Why would you shoot yourself in the chest? It would make no sense. And that's not to say that this character JB is incapable of violence. You know, I still seem to live at a stage of civilization where humanity by and large is extremely unconscious. And so if an assailant is attacking my family, you know, and I have a gun in my hand, there's a very good chance that this character is going to, you know, bust some caps in that ass. You know, is gonna shoot the ankle of that assailant or the kneecap or something and protect my family, because that's my karmic makeup. And yet, yeah, my supposition, my feeling, and this is going into more of the realm of speculation here. I don't really know. My feeling though is that if this thorn was plucked out of the struggle between for and against, that war would cease on this planet. And so that's an interesting thing to consider. And one more note on this not knowingness. I forgot to mention this in the last stanza. Lao Tzu said, "I don't know who gave birth to it." This is really interesting. You know, oftentimes we conceive of awakening or enlightenment as kind of receiving all the final answers about life and knowing everything about how life is. And actually, it's much more like a release into unknowing. Awakening is much more like a release into unknowing, where suddenly we don't know what anything is anymore. We don't know if there's an objective world or not. We don't know if other people are really out there or not. You know, the heart, the human heart certainly really tends to feel this deep connection to the world and to other people, and that's where I tend to be really in favor of heartful non-duality, devotional paths that involve the heart, because I think the path of pure jnana, pure knowledge, I feel it's a smaller subset of people for whom that is gonna fully resonate, because I think humanity has a strong inclination toward connection and toward devotion, toward worship and toward connection with family and community and other people. So I'm a fan of devotional paths that activate the heart. And for me, you know, even after having deeply recognized what Lao Tzu is pointing at in the Tao Te Ching, for myself, my own experience, I still feel deeply, deeply, profoundly, probably even more so than ever before, connected to my daughter, my wife, my family, other people. There's tremendous compassion in my heart. So I want to make that clear, that I'm not saying you just end up in this space where it's like, oh, I don't even know if other people exist, so who cares? You know, it's not like that. It doesn't have the texture of solipsism or what most people associate with solipsism. And yet you don't know. You fundamentally notice that you just don't actually know anything. I don't know what I am. I don't know what this is. I don't know what a room is. I don't know what a house is. I don't know what the world is. I don't know what the sun is, what the sky is. I don't know where all this is going. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if there's an objective world out there. I don't know any grand metaphysical theory. I just don't know. It's like a release into the simplicity of unknowing. So I wanted to make note of that. And again, on this last quote here, going back to the Tao doesn't take sides, it gives birth to both good and evil. The master doesn't take sides, she welcomes both saints and sinners. So yeah, again, it's like, because of this fundamental unknowing, you just don't actually know anymore what good and evil really refer to. You don't know what they really refer to, because for something to be good or to be evil, you would have to know what it is. You would have to know what a situation is. And you'd have to be able to actually draw lines around a situation and separate it out from the rest of reality and isolate it and say, okay, yeah, I know what this is. We can scientifically study this and we can see that this is bad. But there is no separating anything out from the rest of reality, you see. There's only the totality. It's a seamless continuum that appears in this instantaneous flash right here and now. And, the whole thing, all apparent event, to invoke Peter Brown again, to paraphrase him, I once heard him say, it's like a giant weather system, And just because there's thunder and lightning and something that seems to look dark and bad going on over here, that can't be separated out from the fullness of, you could say, the global climate or the global weather system. There's an interconnectivity and an interbeing and an interwovenness that is unresolvable, that is infinitely detailed there. And we just have no idea of what that is. And we can't say, is that total weather system good or bad? Reality, the Tao can never step outside of itself to objectively analyze its success or failure, because there is no outside. There is no outside. We are reality. Reality is reality. Reality only ever experiences reality. So reality cannot step outside itself or draw lines around any aspect of itself to say in any final sense, oh, this is good, or this is bad, or this is success, or this is failure. We don't know what these words mean. So that is why the Tao doesn't take sides and the master doesn't take sides, because there are no sides to be taken. We don't know what anything is. We really don't fundamentally know what anything is. And so, you just cease to make so many assumptions. You cease to concretize so many beliefs about people. You cease to have a belief like, oh, this person is in the opposite political camp and therefore they are deplorable and I know who they are. Maybe some remnant of that definition will still be there, but these definitions are increasingly seen through and just seem to be very feeble and heavy-handed simplifications, extreme oversimplifications that cannot actually capture the infinite and completely co-arising nature of what is here, And so, yeah, and again, this doesn't preclude our human impulse to create a better world and to end war and to end many other seemingly nasty things in the world. That's still fully valid. That's fully included. Again, that doesn't have to go away. And yet at the same time, through this investigation into the nature of the Tao, you can start to discover that the way we typically go about attempting to solve our problems usually just perpetuates our problems, because we typically approach something like ending war from a position of war consciousness, from a position of making people wrong and saying those are the bad guys and we just need to root out the bad guys. Just take note that that has never worked for humanity. Humanity's been trying that for thousands of years and we're still awash in war. We murdered 100 million of our own species in the 20th century alone, according to apparent history, which who knows what that really is. But, you know, what we're doing ain't working. What we're doing ain't working. So, you can't solve a problem from within the same paradigm that created the problem. If we truly wanted to end war on this planet, we need to exit our paradigm of war consciousness entirely. We need to stop adopting this us versus them mentality. We need to see through this mentality and see its complete inability to actually contain or capture reality. And that's when war could potentially actually end. But again, thankfully, it's okay either way, because we don't know what war is. We don't know what the world is. We don't know what this is right now. I don't see any war around me right now. We're so used to projecting nightmarish events in far-flung places that we've never even seen with our own eyes. We live so much in our fantasies, in our projections. We take them to be reality, and then we suffer because of them. The practice of yoga, the practice of the Tao, recommends returning to the simplicity of the now moment, just this instantaneously appearing flash, and seeing what can be discovered when we just stay with that actuality, that infinitely unpin-downable flash of radiance that is really here right now, that is all we ever truly come in contact with. When we just stay with that, what happens? Where do we end up? What happens when we just check that out, let that seduce us, when we just stay with the richness, the lusciousness, the juiciness of this right here, all that I've been talking about this whole time is just your immediate experience exactly as it is. And the fundamental message is your immediate experience exactly as it is completely okay. It's completely okay. However it's showing up, it's okay. It's already, in a profound sense, it's already fully enlightened. It's already the fully enlightened intelligence of this field of nowness, just displaying however it's displaying, and you don't know what that is. You don't know what that is because it is fundamentally inconceivable. It's unknowable in any cognitive, structuralizable sense. And yet you do know it because you're most intimate with it. You are it. You are it. And so you are in a condition to be able to directly apprehend its conditionless condition, its unconditionality, because you are that unconditionality. And the suggestion is that directly noticing this unconditionality, this unknowingness, can be profoundly liberating, profoundly rest-bringing, profoundly beautiful and simple and free and juicy. So check it out if you feel so inclined. Check it out if you feel so inclined. Look into Peter Brown's Yoga of Radiant Presence, Peace to Peter, if you would like to. Feel welcome to explore my channel, my YouTube treehouse. I've got plenty of other videos exploring this. Feel welcome to check out my blogs. I've got some links in the description, especially simplefreedom.substack.com. I've written a lot about these topics. So anywho, those are some additional resources if you feel so inclined. If you don't, that's perfectly okay. Do your thing. Yeah, so yeah, thank you. And I'm probably by the time this is out, there'll also be an opportunity to hop into a Telegram channel I'm creating to share more about this as well. That's probably going to be called Simple Freedom, so you can look for that in the description as well if you are inclined to do so. So, anywho, thank you, my friend. Thank you, Lao Tzu. Thank you to the Tao. Thank you to the Tao. Just this simple flow right now. Just this simple flow right now. Just this simple, immediate flow. What can we discover through releasing all descriptions and just abiding with this simple, indescribable flow of ever shifting, artistry, unpindownable artistry, right here and now. Just staying with that simple flow of juiciness. Thank you, Lao Tzu. Thank you, Tao. Thank you, God. Thank you, experience. Thank you, person watching this. May this energy ripple forth for the highest good of all beings. May all beings know peace. Amen. Aho. Namaste. Peace, infinity. Thank you, my friend. Much love, much peace. None to do but be you, baby. None to do but be you. Peace, love, infinity. Take care. Take care. I love you, my friend. I love you. Peace.